Welcome to Adventures of a Wallflower with JD Morgan. I am your host, JD Morgan, and we are at episode 7, Pendulum of Life. Just like our heartbeats, life is never always steady. At a point in time, there will be a balance, we'll just be at one state, then we move to a high state, then to a low state, and then hopefully back again. And for the past couple of months, even years actually, I've been in a low state. I've had moments of highs, happiness, feeling good, but never really at a balance where I do not have to worry a lot. That takes me back to episode 1 with our tagline, becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I've managed this week to actually put some notes, things that I like to talk about in this podcast, and we'll go through them one by one. Right. So my next note in my note is rehash the reasons I started writing. Reasons I started writing was to express myself, right? Because I was in a low point, and to express the desires that I might be too afraid to talk about, or even just, well, I haven't had the words to express vocally. And it's the reason I wrote. In sharing my writing, I'm hoping I could connect with you and anybody that may be going through a similar thing or went through something similar. Because we could always learn something from each other, and that would help us to move forward. So even though I've always done some scribbling, short notes here and there, way before I actually decided to start writing for a book or just writing like continuously and every day, I was somewhat good with words. Always been told about that, but never used it. So the purpose of writing is to share myself honestly, truthfully, and fully as best as I could. And also the reason of this podcast as well, which will explore more, well, some of the adventures, mishappenings in a more storied approach rather than poetry. And then that now leads to my next thing, which is perfectionism. Actually never, actually never, but rather I almost never published my book. I was always back and forth saying, does this make any sense? Did I really go through it? And just like, going over your own thing, doing it a million times, you have to review and review, kind of get sick of it. And I was just on that hinge like, no, I don't think anybody really resonates with it, or I think anybody would like it, but that is not really the case. And I realized that's not necessarily the reason why I'm writing it. Even if no money resonates, at least they would get perspective from my story and might see something that they could apply to theirs. I do believe, well, in this belief that everything has to be perfect to hold a lot of us back from achieving all the stuff, desires that we, want to achieve. For some reason, this led to my next point in my notes, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if any of us could remember, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory that explains how humans are motivated to fulfill their needs in a specific order. And it's typically represented as a pyramid or a triangle, with the most basic needs at the bottom and the most advanced at the top. And just a reminder what these needs are based on the first 5 levels. psychological needs, your most basic need for human survival, food, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, and then your safety needs, your security, well-being, personal safety, financial security, and health. And then social needs for love, belonging, friendships, family, and intimacy. Esteem needs the need for self-esteem and respect, plus self-confidence, independence, and freedom. Next level, fifth level rather, self-actualization needs the need to reach one's full potential, such as creativity. While this technically based on research, these needs are not necessarily linear anymore, and I believe they've been expanded to at least seven levels at this point. And I guess the reason why I even make note of that is just to reflect the levels I'm at, which need work, where might be high or low. Right now, everything is a bit low, to be honest with you. And I am working on it. That's the reason I'm sharing with you guys. I've always had a need for love and belonging. I do have that from friendship and family. Not so much intimacy, but over the past week or month, I've learned a few things about myself. I will divulge a bit later on that, basically explains why that part was lacking, or rather I couldn't close the deal, so to speak. And here's the growth, understanding oneself and making the necessary changes. So this now leads to the next point. Escape abusive relationships, not life. That could be family, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and even just your environment, your work. We shouldn't just try to consume things on social media, TV, or anything rather that will just distract away from life. We should try to live life. Any escape really should be where you could reflect on the state that you're in your life, make changes accordingly. But if you're going to like watch TV, go to flats, concerts, shouldn't be your own life because there's other aspects, other parts that make up yourself, your whole being, your lifestyle, your life. As basically you could tell from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's a lot of interconnection with a lot of different things. You should never stay in an abusive situation. It does not help for us. It destroys our mental health and someone could get hurt. Doesn't matter if you feel like you can't do without the things that this person or this environment provides. I assure you, even though I myself am trying to convince myself that yes, you will find you'll find the change you need. But the first step is to admit that you're in a situation that you do not belong, so that you could take the first step to move out. Basically, the book stops with you. You are in control of your life, no matter who supports you or doesn't support you. You can only control your actions, your thoughts. And I know some of us thoughts are quite heavy. I know mine are. I am trying to lighten the load. And just stick with me. I think you will make it through. Because as the title of this episode says, Pendulum, Pendulum of Life. Life is never really at a constant. It swings in different states. There's a period for growth, and there's a period when all things fall apart. Now we're trying not to be stuck in that path, try to build back. Some will not understand what you need to do, take care of you. But I believe as long as whatever you're doing is not hurting anybody physically or, you know, in a state abusive, you should push towards it, make the move, right? So I recently started a newsletter. The first F- e- edition rather hasn't been published as yet, but that should happen within this week. And I urge you to sign up for it. It's called All Things J.D. Morgan. So this would involve all aspects of my author life, my podcast, poetry that I've created, whatever works that I've released, insights, recommendations, interviews, behind the scenes stuff. You might see stuff relates to the new book that you'll most likely see stuff for my new books that I'm writing and a lot of other content and hopefully some free giveaways as well. Do have one in mind that will happen soon. So subscribe, especially if you haven't bought my book as yet. You know, that first story might be one for you. And this week's poem entitled Sun. I lay my eyes wide shut at a glance. I could not resist looking at your face. The temperate feeling sprouts in my heart and glistens in your presence. A new day sparks with fire from the yellow light that shines so brightly. The flowers and the creatures burst into a joyous dance. The birds sing harmoniously with the wind, sweet melodies never heard before. But I see you no more in sight after this night. I look to my left and then to my right. Still, your presence is missing from my eyes. Yet, for a second, I heard your voice in my dream. You keep me away from slumber at this hour. I wake up to the light that guides me to your beautiful grace. In the simplest terms, this poem is about the sun. But with all poems, depending on what mood or what state you're in, it could be interpreted as something else. Unlike my last few poems, I've asked AI to describe what this poem is about. And here what it says. This piece captures the essence of longing and the ethereal beauty of a dreamlike encounter. The imaginary evokes a sense of warmth and vitality, with nature's vibrant elements reflecting the intense emotions felt by the narrator. The dance of flowers and creatures, along with the harmonious songs of birds, symbolizes a joy and liveliness inspired by the presence of a beloved. Yet, the absence of this cherished figure introduces a poignant contrast. As the narrator searches in vain for their presence, the fleeting moment when the beloved's voice is heard in a dream suggests a connection that transcends the boundaries of reality, keeping the narrator awake in anticipation and hope. Ultimately, the light that guides the narrator serves as a metaphor for the enduring impact of this cherished bond, illuminating their path with grace and beauty. And now I would like to share a little story. Back when I was going hard in high school, I believe I was in third form, not exactly sure, but yes, this time I had a almost near death experience. And I will just give a brief overview. Basically, we're in a free period, no teaching, and I'm just sitting there minding my business. And someone that I would have considered a friend, or at least definitely not my enemy, came up to me and tried something. Tried to, what they would say, tax me back then to get some money. This person has never done that, especially to me. So I was quite surprised. And they came up to me because I was sitting down. So they're standing with a rusted scissors up to my throat. I was appalled. I was surprised. I was shocked. I was kind of stubborn as well because I stood up and I pushed the person back. He was basically falling. And the way I put it, he was trying to catch himself. And the scissors came straight back to my throat and slit it. I was more in shock, just sitting down, don't know what to do, body feeling cold. I just know a few people gathered me, rushed me towards the principal office where I sat outside waiting for somebody to take me to the hospital. I believe they contacted my sister. At this point, I was very, very cold. Did not know what was happening really. Just now I was cold. In a sense, I might have felt like life was escaping me and I couldn't catch it back up. But luckily, there was a hospital close by, so I reached and we, I got a few stitches. It wasn't a long, I cut, like 7 stitches, but it was deep, literally like a few, less than an inch rather, away from my windpipe. And I was just blown by how lucky or how blessed I was at that time. I didn't take action against the person because it was just a very weird situation because nothing like that ever happened. For young boys, we rough house, but especially that, he has never done something like that. So I was shocked. I mean, my family, like, you know, trying to figure out why do I not, press charges. I know at the time I just think about personal charge. You're this young. I did not die, although I almost was very close to probably experiencing such a thing. But I don't know. I just thought at the moment I didn't want to mess up anything for his future. Even though his explanation for certain things lied, I let it slide. Yes, so that's my bit, my story. Everything's kind of just flooding back right now because it's been a long time since I've actually thought about that. And wherever you are, I hope everything's good with you. I've forgiven you a long time ago. I remember some point in time you went away and I think you did. Not too sure where you are right now or what you're doing, but if anybody remembers that's listening who that is, they can always reach out to him and let him reach out to me. But yeah, sometimes you really live and learn, and sometimes you have to forgive. I won't forget though, but I'll forgive. Yeah, that's my story. And if you're just joining me on my journey, thank you. Be sure to collect a copy of The Silent Love, a collection of thoughts and imagery conveyed through words. Do note, the book is available in Trinidad at Scribbles and Quills, in Chaguanas, the Bar Bookshop in Cuba, Metropolitan Bookstore in Port of Spain, the JD Collection in Port of Spain and Shock on Stock bookseller at the Falls at West Malls. And internationally, it is available on the Balboa Press Bookstore, Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes& and Noble, eRand, and other major online sellers. Do note only the soft cover is available in Trinidad, and softcover, hardcover, and ebook is available online. Be sure to get your copy. And for my other socials, you can check out my website at www.jd-morgan.com and Instagram page with handle j.d.morgan _writes. As well as on Facebook, you could search for the profile j.d.morgan. And I am also on TikTok as j.d.morgan_writes. And if you've read my book, kindly go to Goodreads and search for my author name or the book itself and give a review, a very honest review. Thank you. Be sure to subscribe and share and leave your feedback on any questions that you might have for me. Here's to becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. See you next week for another episode of Adventures of a Wallflower.